Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
It's not known right now how this patient got coronavirus. The CDC saying the patient did not travel to a high-risk area and was not around anyone who is known to have coronavirus. It is a real possibility now. It is a first community case of coronavirus in the U.S., spread by somebody who has it without anybody knowing, spreading it in the community. The CDC had just this week said it was not a matter of if, but when it would happen in the U.S.
Yes, community to community. What does it mean? What does it mean, Chad? I'll tell you what it means. So the coronavirus is a hearty virus. You guys understand what that means? Hearty virus. Strong. It can last up to 9 days in a place like on a rail, right? On a seat. It can last for a while. So it's a hardy virus. This is a community. This person had no known association with anybody who's traveled somewhere. I mean, this was just like a random person that said, oh, you got the coronavirus. How'd you get it? Well, obviously you went somewhere where somebody who potentially had the coronavirus or was carrying something that had the virus on it and in contact, and woo, you've got it. Oh, my God. Yeah. Yesterday, Trump came out and delivered what was the way that the media handled it, right? So Trump's making the announcement, 4 o'clock. People are like, oh, my God, what's going to happen, right? And it's I love how it's not supposed to be political, but everything with Trump and everything with this world today is political. There's nothing that's not political. Right? The night before they had the debate, right? It's like, well, he's killed everything at the CDC and he's eliminated every job. All that's there is the guy that cleans the place, and that's about it. I mean, it's okay. You're like, all right. I'm not. It is what it is. So we're gonna have this big announcement. So big announcement. First, it was going to be at it was going to be 3 o'clock Pacific, 6 o'clock Eastern. Then it was pushed back a half an hour. Like, oh, whoa, what's going to happen? What's going to happen here? Media's there. You see everybody. Everything is being covered, right? Like he's making some announcement. Like this is everything. Breaking news, the whole 9 years. All the while, there was a shooting in Milwaukee, and we'll touch on that in a little bit, in the anatomy of a story. But as this is going on, he finally comes out. About 32, 33 past. And he looked as bored as you can. I do not believe for a second he thinks that this is a big deal.
Now, what we've done is we've stopped non-U.S. citizens from coming into America from China. That was done very early on. We're screening people, and we have been at a very high level, screening people coming into the country from infected areas. We have in quarantine those infected and those at risk. We have a lot of great quarantine facilities.
Yeah, one of the things they talked about was screening from places like Italy, right? Because Italy's got a big issue. This is what is so funny. So you're screening people. You're doing all of these type of things.
On a flight arriving from Milan, Italy, Wednesday night, passenger Maurizio Marchiori sailed through customs with no special coronavirus screening.
I was surprised that there was any control. That is, especially because we fly from Milan.
Infections in Italy have jumped to 400. That's up 25% in just 24 hours. New York City Mayor Bill DeBlasio calling on the federal government to extend screening to any country with a coronavirus outbreak, not just China. And President Trump at the White House Wednesday.
Italy is, a deeper problem, and we're checking people coming in very, very strongly.
Nah, obviously you weren't. You're not. You were checking people's stride. Really? I don't think so. So what happens from here? I don't know. Do I think, and I want everybody to understand that this is, the opportunity for this thing to become political is very real. You can shape the fact that Trump has gone out and he is essentially, according to some people, he's decimated the CDC. Again, all that's there is a janitor. That's it. That's all that's there. Janitor, nothing else. No one else is there. That's it. Got rid of everybody, right? Put Mike Pence in charge, which I'm not quite sure was really a good thing because Pence has a little little bit of a history of not jumping on top of things fast. Mike Pence looked as surprised as anybody yesterday. Like that was the first he'd heard of it. And Mike Pence going to be the guy. And wait, what? I'm Mike Pence. Me, Mike Pence? You're talking about me? No, really? So while we've got 61 cases here in the U.S., 45 of those have been repatriated of the COVID-19. What does that mean? People were sick elsewhere, whether they were on a boat or in China. We've brought them back here because they're U.S. citizens and they're being treated here. So that means 16 cases in all that are new cases. Nobody's died. 29 million people have been infected by the flu this year, about 7% of the population. 16,000 have died. Soak that up for a second. 29 million. Now, if we get to the point where we've got 100,000 or 1 million, that's huge, right? So that's big. But at this point in time, I don't think that we should just all freak out. But I don't think Trump thinks this is a big deal.
Flu has a fatality ratio of about 0.1%.
Correct.
This has a fatality ratio somewhere between 2 and 3%.
Well, we think. We don't know exactly what it
numbers
is.
so far.
And the flu is higher than that. The flu is much higher than that.
There's more people who get the flu, but this is spreading, or it's going to spread maybe within communities. That's the expectation. Does that worry you? Because that seems to be what...
So what Gupta was saying there is the flu's got this mortality rate, right? And this has supposedly, if you look at the numbers, about a 2%. So if there was 29 million people in this country that got the coronavirus, that would equate to about 600,000 deaths, which would be massive. But what's the real number? Because I don't know what China's number is for real. I don't know how they treated people. I don't know if there's a lot that goes into that, but if that would be a massive thing, I just don't believe that Trump thinks this is real. I don't. I do not believe that. I think that Trump thinks this is it. And one thing, and this is something else that I thought yesterday he was going to come out and he was going to deliver because we live in a viral society. Not just when it comes to things like the coronavirus, but in everything. People see something, they don't check on it, it runs, it becomes hot, it becomes reality. And as we all know, remember the Ebola virus? The people freaking out over the Ebola virus. Just losing their mind over the Ebola virus. I was like, okay. This has the potential to be bigger. But that was top of mind for days. Was it Dr. Lieber, Nancy Lieber? Remember her? She had worked with some patients. I think she was a CBS or ABC, like a doctor on call kind of thing where they call her in for stuff. And then she was supposed to be quarantined and they saw her at a coffee shop and that caused a big, we have a potential for this thing to be more chaotic. And I thought Trump would come out yesterday. Maybe that's the way he did. It's like, I don't think it's a big deal. And people get on with your lives in the whole 9 yards. And you got more to worry about with the flu or driving to work or something like that. Okay, that's fair. But I also thought yesterday he would concentrate more on the economy side of things. Because you got the Dow struggling again. It is down big time. This is not a situation here where I think he steadied stuff the way he should. So it's going to be very interesting about this thing moving forward, but it is going to become political. He's cut the funding for the CDC. He's cut the funding for the National Health and Human Services. He's cut fundings here and there. They're going to make it that way. Plus, you're demonizing people from, China in particular. Why aren't you doing it for other? This will become political, and therein lies the story. And that's how you build the anatomy of a story in something like this. How can we make this? Trump is an evil person. When it comes to like stopping flights from China and things of that nature, he was spot on. It has nothing to do with race. People make it that way. It's like people who are freaking out because People are wearing masks. The person sits down next to you, and you feel a little uncomfortable. You move away, right? And what happens? Oh, that was racist because they're Asian. Well, it is what it is. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the fact that maybe, just maybe, people are worried about things because they don't go and check and see how real is this. And by the way, the masks do nothing. I don't know how many times we have to tell you guys this. There's a run on masks. There's a run on masks. These things, this coronavirus, the novel coronavirus, because most of us out there, every one of you listening at some point in time has probably had the coronavirus if you've had a cold. This novel coronavirus is the particles and everything are too small. It gets through the mass. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Love hearing from every single one of you. You can text the program, tweet at us, thechadshow.com. Grab your podcast there as well. Wounded Paw, amazing organization. Been working with them for a while. Continue to do so because I love what they do. So you've got an organization that saw the need to help veterans, first responders, and their family. And you also saw what was going on in the world of animals being abandoned, animals being abused, dogs in particular. They put their love of veterans and their love of animals, and they combined the two, and that's how they came up with the Wounded Paw Project. It is so incredible. It really is. They unite our furry best friends with our nation's heroes in such a way. They take shelter dogs, turn them into service dogs. Right now, they need your help. It's simple, easy to donate. Yes, they do take cash, but they would love it if you could donate an unwanted vehicle. You can turn your extra car, truck, RV, even a boat, right? Flies or floats. You can turn that into a vehicle for change. You're going to be saving a paw to save a life. How you do it is simple. You go to woundedpawproject.org. That's woundedpawproject.org. They'll tell you how to do everything right there, or you can call them at 844-678-4PAW. That's 844-678-4729. See the work they're doing, talk to them, get involved. Woundedpawproject.org. Chad Benson Show.
Take a fake news break. Check out the really important news of the day at our website, ChadBensonShow.com. Once there, click on Chad's free podcast and get real. The Chad Benson Show, where truth and the American way live. Print free.
The big question, will it be enough to stall Sanders' momentum? He says Biden doesn't have what it takes to go the distance.
Joe is a friend of mine and a decent guy, but that is not the voting record or the history that is going to excite people, bring them into the political process, and beat Trump.
Now the candidates are already looking beyond South Carolina to those delegate-rich states that are up for grabs on Super Tuesday, launching new multi-million-dollar national ad buys and already moving on to campaign more aggressively in those states.
So we'll see. Again, South Carolina, Bernie, I think, sees Clyburn got behind Biden yesterday, and on top of that, I think there's a real sense in certain areas, particularly through the South. I mean, Bernie's kissed Florida goodbye, which was supposed to be a battle. He's kissed it goodbye because of the whole talk of Castro and the good that Castro has done. Oh, you got to be honest, got to be the truth. You know, it's no. I mean, the guy killed 80,000 people, enslaved an entire nation island. The truth is he's a scumbag. Great. He taught people to read. Let's just move on with our lives. I think they'd rather be illiterate and free than well-read and enslaved. If that was your choice, right? If your choice was education was hard to come by and you were somewhat illiterate, or you were well-read, but you were enslaved, I'll take choice A. I'll take freedom every day. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Trump, though, he does have like an antidote when dealing with people who potentially could be sick.
I do it a lot anyway, as you probably heard. Wash your hands, stay clean. You don't have to necessarily grab every handrail unless you have to. You do certain things that you do when you have the flu. I mean, view this the same as the flu. When somebody sneezes, I mean, I try and bail out as much as possible with the sneezing. I had a man come up to me a week ago. I hadn't seen him in a long time, and I said, how you doing? He said, fine, fine. He hugs me, kisses me. I said, are you well? He says, no. He said, I have the worst fever and the worst flu. And he's hugging and kissing me. So I said, excuse me. I went and I started washing my hands. You know, I really think, Doctor, you want to treat this like you treat the flu, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. You should wash your hands anyways, and that's the best way to do it, right? You get a public restroom, you wash your hands, you get, the towel, and you open the door. You try to avoid as much as possible. And that's why the whole thing in Northern California is what people are looking at. This was a community with the new patient that has no contact with anybody who's been in any of the affected areas, hasn't been to any of the affected areas. It was just a random person that is tested positive for the coronavirus. And now, people saying, okay, we've got to declare states of emergency. It will spread like wildfire, not just potentially the coronavirus, but the panic. And we have a tendency here to build things up way bigger than they are. We need to be diligent. We need to be smart, but we shouldn't be stupid. I don't know if we'll be any of those things except for stupid, because we tend to do that really well. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the program as well. Man, Super Tuesday is going to be interesting. 1,357 delegates up. So Texas and California are the big prizes. Can anybody stop Bernie? I think it's a fair question. He's bounced out of South Carolina because since the whole, 60 Minutes and a lot of other stuff, he's behind Tom Steyer there. So I think he sees writing on the wall. At Monday, they were almost in a dead heat. And by Wednesday, new poll from Clemson showed that, he was, 16, 18 points behind Biden. So it'll be interesting to see, how long and what effect some of this stuff has on Bernie and his continually backing of Castro and whatnot. And the good he did. The Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
What he's doing is late, too late, anemic. Hopefully we can make up for the loss of time.
Panic! Panic! Political story. It's what it's become, the coronavirus. There's an anatomy in the way that stories are put together, right? That's truth means very little anymore. Now half of it is there's a political slant to everything, right? And the other half is preying on emotions of people, right? That's so much of what putting things together. That's one of the reasons why somebody likes. You can look at Bernie and say, oh, why? Well, Bernie doesn't have, I don't have the, poor Joe doesn't have the power. He doesn't have the strength. He doesn't have the excitement. But does he have the plans, right, to beat you, Bernie? You look over and you see somebody like Buttigieg. Doesn't evoke emotion. That's a problem because emotion, fear, anger, love, all of those things, greed, they gets people to do things, makes people react, makes us overthink. We live in a world of what? The bubble of safety. We're safer than we've ever been. We're living longer than we ever have. No, Chad, our life expectancy is down. It's down because of things like self-induced deaths. The average person who doesn't shoot themselves or OD on heroin is living longer, which is the majority of us. But you would think, right? And that's what you do. You cause a panic. You cause a stir. And it's interesting. Yesterday, what did we have yesterday in the middle of the day? We had a shooting at a plant in Milwaukee. And what happened? How many of you really heard any of it? Because I saw very little coverage of it, where normally the media would flock to it. They would be there all day. It would be nonstop coverage in the whole 9 yards, except for...
Employee opened fire at the Old Miller Brewing headquarters, now the Molson Coors Company, killing 5 co-workers before turning the gun on himself. Investigators say the former employee returned to the office armed, opening fire on staff members. Employees were evacuated along with neighboring schools as police searched more than 20 buildings on the company's campus. More than 1,000 people were working at the sprawling beer plant Wednesday afternoon when the shooting occurred.
What's the first thing we do now? White supremacist? Is it a Nazi? What's his political leanings? Was it kids? Was it a Muslim? Was it a terrorist? Oh, it's just a disgruntled employee. Nothing to see here. We're moving on. Nothing to see. 0 things to see. Right? Killed people, the whole... But if this was guy that was a Trump supporter, be nonstop, right? If this was a terrorist, pretty much nonstop. It's the anatomy of putting a story together. And that yesterday was so real. There was no political thing in it. Pissed off, angry, disgruntled employee does a heinous thing after being fired earlier in the day. It's like the flu. There's no politics in the flu. So, because there's no politics in the flu, it's hard to blame, so it doesn't get the coverage. Because why? Because we live for emotions, right? If we can get somebody to have some sort of emotion, right? We can evoke an emotion in somebody. We can get, there's a reason that politicians tell stories about individuals. Here's something for you, Bernie. Right? Seeing as you love the Soviet Union and all of the little offsprings and offshoots and franchises that they've produced. Joseph Stalin said the death of one is a tragedy. The death of a million is a statistic. Right? Meaning, if you could tell a story about a singular thing, it becomes real to people. And we do what? We panic, we worry, we freak. Oh, God, this, that, that. And that's what goes on. This right here is a perfect example of how we've gotten to the point of fear in everything. I am a Gen Xer, latchkey kid, lived my life having fun outdoors with my friends, no helicopter parenting whatsoever. In this day and age, you couldn't even imagine doing that.
She left her 9-year-old daughter at a park for hours at a time.
Is that a crime today? Leaving your 9-year-old to play in a park? South Carolina police said, of course it is. They arrested the mom, and their questioning quickly turned into a lecture.
You can't leave a child that's 9 years old in a park by herself. What would you do if some sex offender came by?
Seems everyone agreed. She must have done something terrible.
What if a man would have came and just snatched it?
This day and time, you never know who's around. It's just not safe.
This day and time? Are you kidding me? We talked the other day about Parkland, right? Since Columbine, school shootings are way down. But you wouldn't think that. You would think there's what? An epidemic, right? Crime, all these stuff. In this day and time, though, because people have it in their mind that this is dangerous because we have that bubble. We have that bubble of protection that we've never been in a better time in our life. So anything that breaches that bubble, even a smidge, it makes it feel like it's coming down on us.
Crime is way down, half what it was in the 90s. Reports of missing children are also down. If kids are kidnapped or molested, it's usually by a relative or friend.
She'd be safer in the park than she would at home.
Deborah Harrell worked here at McDonald's. Because she couldn't afford daycare, sometimes she'd bring her daughter to work. But Regina was bored at McDonald's.
She called me and asked me, Mom, can I go to the park? She had a cell phone. She had a pocketbook with money in it. She had everything she needed.
That's not legal, said the police.
Which is insane. God, at 9, I lived about a block and a half from school. In kindergarten, I'd walk to school by myself. I would come home by myself at noon or 1. And what would happen? My mom didn't get home till 3 or 4. Sometimes my grandma and my aunt lived about a mile and a half, 2 miles away. And sometimes, like first, second grade, I'd ride my bike over there. But you couldn't even imagine that now. You couldn't even imagine that. But that's part of the whole thought process, like with the coronavirus, like with a lot of these things. Oh, dude, you can't let that go outside, right? That's why when something happens, whether it's a police shooting or somebody does get taken by a stranger, you're like, oh my God, because it happens so infrequently. Same thing with like a shark attack or a plane crash. They're so infrequent that they become big stories. But it's nuts. And this is the way that things work. I mean, you hear those people like, you can't let in this day and age people go outside by themselves. You put your kid outside all day long, says, take me, I'm free, and chances are nobody's going to come over. I was talking to Jack's mom a couple days ago. And she and I were chatting about, because he's on the video games all day. And I said well, that's where the kids meet now, right? He's playing Fortnite, he's playing Madden with all of his friends, and they're all talking and they're having a good time and they're playing and stuff. And I'm like, well, yeah, because where else are they going to do it? They can't go to the park by themselves. Everybody's kid has to have a play date. You have to play out back. And she goes, well, I said, look, it's so overblown, right? So overblown. But this is the world that we live in, and that's part of the whole thing, evoke an emotion.
Attorney Robert Phillips took Deborah's case for free.
We found 42 incidents of sexual molestations, rapes in daycares. We couldn't find any in the last 20 years of a single abduction in a park.
One of those mothers apparently was upset enough that she called the cops.
Well, the mother probably watches too much TV herself.
Another kidnapping.
Or another kidnapping attempt of a teenage girl.
Have you had the stranger danger talk with your kids?
Think about that. 42 in places that you're paying your child to go and be safe. Let's talk about the Boy Scouts. Let's talk about the Catholic Church. Let's talk about a lot of different places where there's an established relationship. And usually it's a really strong established relationship, or it's an uncle, it's somebody, it's a dad. Those are the things that happen. The stranger danger? Are you kidding me? That's insane. The reality is this is part of it, though. You tell the story, you talk about the fear, you do all of these kind of things. We've talked about free roam parenting. We've talked about the fact that you let your kid, it's just absolute, but it's part of the fear factor. And that's part of the anatomy of a story that the media wants to build because it becomes something. Right? Oh, clutch your kid a little tighter. Things happen. Bad things happen. But we make it to be like that everything that's bad. If it bleeds, it leads. Because if we can get an emotion out of you, we can get you here watching it.
If you're not under the protective wings of mom and dad 24/7, then you're exposing your child to some unknown danger.
I felt safe because I was with my friends and their parents, and there was a lot of it.
She's a very responsible young lady.
You responsible?
Yes, sir.
She always been like that.
No, said prosecutors. No 9-year-old is responsible enough. They charged Deborah with willful abandonment of a child, a crime that carries up to a 10-year sentence. They took Regina away from her mother for 2 weeks.
Took her away from her because she let her go play at the park. That's insane.
Police and child care workers say they're protecting children by seizing them if they walk home alone. One child care worker strip searched a mom after she left her kids in the car while she dashed in for muffins.
And if you take their freedom away from them, then where they going to come at once they grow up?
They won't know how to take care of themselves.
when you hold your child in and not let them spread their wings, that's when they get in trouble.
She's right. It's crazy, but it's true. But see how the anatomy of a story is built. If there's politics there, if there's an emotion there, it becomes a much bigger thing because it's as much about storytelling and how I can get an emotion out of you. That's why Bernie does so well. He evokes a certain amount of emotion from both sides. AOC from both sides. Because you got the politics, you've got the emotion, and rarely do you have any of the facts. Rarely. And at this point in time, day and age, we try to say it here all the time, and I continue to say it, and I will live by it. I'll take facts over feelings every single day. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Got up this morning. Hit it hard. Got up early. I was up about 3:30. Did about a 45, 50-minute workout with I was in my hotel. I've got my armbands. I got all the stuff, and I hit it hard. And it was just so easy and smooth. And I started about 4 o'clock. And what I do is I take my Beat Elite. So I asked Beat Elite. So Human came to me, and they said, hey, Chad, would you try this? And I said, yeah. And I said, I'll try it. So they sent it to me, and I was kind of skeptical at first because I work out a lot. I do stuff. I want to make sure, was the stuff good? It was amazing. I could feel the impact on my workouts, me playing soccer. It was awesome. Beat Elite extends endurance, improves energy and stamina, increases oxygen delivery throughout the body. It is absolutely incredible. So we started talking. They talk about all the athletes, elite teams, everybody around the globe who uses this. And I was like, wow, that stuff is amazing. And it is. Now, if you want to take your game to the next level, do what I did. Get Beat Elite. Try it for yourself. Go to livehuman.com/Chad. You're going to save 20% off your first purchase. That's livehuman.com/Chad. You will feel the difference. Take it 30 minutes before your workout and see how you feel. You watch something that would be normally a 30-minute workout, 30 minutes in where you'd be exhausted, you're still pushing through and you're feeling great. Livehuman.com/Chad. Livehuman.com/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
If you're part of the politically exhausted majority, don't fear. Your time to be validated and rejuvenated is here. Wake up. It's the Chad Benson Show.
They claim that the evidence consists of notes from Rick Singer, the alleged mastermind of the scheme, which show that the FBI put pressure on him to lie. The defense points to a 2018 message that was written on Singer's iPhone, saying he had a, quote, loud and abrasive call with agents, adding, they continue to ask me to tell a fib and not restate what I told my clients as to where their money was going.
So that is from the attorney of Lori Loughlin and her husband, Massimo, who, of course, are going to take this thing as far as they can. They're going to take it to trial. So you had the Hot Pockets heiress get 5 months in jail. She plea-dealed it out for getting her two age kids into, both their daughters into college. One to cheat on tests. They got somebody to take the ACT and do some other stuff. And the other one to get a scholarship for beach volleyball to USC to the tune of about $300,000 total. They're being Lori Loughlin and her husband are accused of about $500,000 worth of stuff. So what does it mean? I think they're going to try to fight this thing as long as possible. I do. I think they're going to take it on. And here's the thing. As we all know in these situations, when you fight it and you lose, they come down harder on you than when you plea this thing out. And sometimes, even when you're innocent, you look at the situation and say, well, I really don't have a choice, right? Because I'm facing something so ridiculous. Because in many cases, what they do is overcharge. Case in point, that woman in Utah that was caught topless in her own home by her stepkids who walked on her and her husband. Doing what? Having sex? No. working inside the house, taking out all this stuff inside of the attic and the garage, just all this stuff, and it had the asbestos on it and the little fiberglass stuff, and they took off their tops, and she was charged with lewd acts with a minor and all of these things. It wasn't like they were doing something crazy. I mean, it was just insane, and they charged her to the point where if she would have went to trial and lost, and they'd already established by the judge, because they tried to have it thrown out, that guess what? We've established in this country that a woman without a shirt on is essentially, that's a lewd act, or that's a no-no, or it's naughty. It's so stupid, right? So she pled it out so she doesn't get any jail time. But if she would have went to trial and she lost, she faced not only going to jail, but then having to register as a sex offender for 10 years. That's just insane. So they're going to fight it, Lori Loughlin, but you've seen a lot of other people are just like, I'm done. Give me what you get me. Because it's just easier. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. You can text the program as well. Check out thechadshow.com. You can go there, right there. And doing so, you can pick up your podcast, see all the things that are going on, the ins and outs. Make sure you check out the Facebook page as well. It's the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
It's not known right now how this patient got coronavirus. The CDC saying the patient did not travel to a high-risk area and was not around anyone who is known to have coronavirus. It is a real possibility now. It is a first community case of coronavirus in the U.S., spread by somebody who has it without anybody knowing, spreading it in the community. The CDC had just this week said it was not a matter of if, but when it would happen in the U.S.
Oh! Producer Anthony, just the conspiracy theories are flying around, brother. Because apparently Lysol can, talks about all the stuff it fights against, and the coronavirus is on there. Oh, my God, how'd you get the coronavirus? This is a conspiracy theory. I knew it was coming. Oh, here it comes. Right? What did Rush Limbaugh say the other day? It was invented to destroy Trump or something. You're like, really? Are we doing this? Like, does anybody out there buy that? Does anybody out there buy that? I'm going to give you guys, remember, facts over feelings. So, COVID-19, that's the coronavirus, right? Oh, yeah, that's the coronavirus, Jack. COVID-19, super brand new, deadly, right? Super deadly, brand new. Epidemic, pandemic, demidemic. It's just super demic. Google demic, massive, huge. So, COVID-19. Coronavirus. SARS. What? Coronavirus. What? That's coronavirus? Yeah. MERS, Middle Eastern Respiratory Infection. Coronavirus. And then there's the one that pretty much everybody alive is probably in some time, way, shape, or form had. The common human coronavirus. Usually caused by upper respiratory tract illness, mild to moderate. Okay, so any of this. Here we go. Runny nose. Check, had that. Sore throat. Check, had that. Headache, fever, cough. Generally feeling of being unwell. Check. Oh, yeah. But here comes the conspiracy. God, I love the conspiracy. They're just great. And then when you debunk them, it doesn't matter. That's the fun of, like, debunking certain things. Right? Doesn't matter what it is. Right? You debunk certain things, and it's one of those situations where, you know, they don't care because nobody wants. They want affirmation, and some people don't even want that. They're just out there, right? You know, oh my God, this has been, you know, this is here to destroy Trump, or this is part of a bigger scheme, or my goodness, talking to people. I just laugh. I'm like, all right, you can't. Some people you just can't deal with. So now you've got the community infection. What does that mean? I'll break it down to you. Coronavirus is pretty hardy, right? So by being pretty hardy, it can last several days in a rail. Like, so if you're walking, got a handrail, it can be there, right? A doorknob, a seat. So when you have a community transmission, it means somebody who is not in any way, shape, or form associated with the place where the outbreak occurred, i.e. doesn't come from there, hasn't traveled there, doesn't know anybody who's traveled there. So it's there. They got it, and nobody knows how or why they got it. Oh. And now you've got that in Northern California. We're waiting because producer Anthony lives in Northern California, and we're assuming within the next 48 hours he's going to catch it. And we're very excited about it. Because then we can have him on the radio and say, what's going on? He'd be like, I don't know. I feel fine. How deadly is it? That's the other big thing. So yesterday, Trump wanders on out, looks absolutely as bored as can be. I do not believe for 1 second he thinks this thing is a pandemic or an epidemic. We need to be forward thinking, and I think we've done some of that stuff. Do I think it's one of those situations where it'll be made political and it'll get all kinds of press, but much like the Ebola was a little different because you really got to try hard to get you had to try hard, like super try hard to get the Ebola virus. This will be different. It will come here. It will spread, but will it spread to the point like with the flu? So let's compare the two. 61 people now have the coronavirus confirmed in the United States, and out of that, 45 of those were brought in. That number will change every second of every day. By the time I get off the radio, it could be 83. Or it could drop down to 52 that now are confirmed because some of them, so that number's going to just fluctuate. Blah. 29 million people have caught the flu, 16,000 dead. 16,000 dead. 0 people have died here in the United States because of the coronavirus. Dr. Sanjay Gupta yesterday was at the presser, where again, Trump was not very excited about all of this, and asked him if he was worried and went over the mortality rates.
Flu has a fatality ratio of about 0.1%. Correct. This has a fatality ratio somewhere between 2 and 3%.
Well, we don't know exactly what it is. So far. And the flu is higher than that. The flu is much higher than that.
There's more people who get the flu, but this is spreading, or it's going to spread maybe within communities. That's the expectation. Does that worry you? Because that seems to be.
So he's talking about the fact that the flu has, in the mortality, like one is virtually the mortality rate. While we have a lot of people that die from the flu, so many people have it. So when you look at that, and you're like, well, like 30 million people got it, 16,000 people died. That's, and here you're looking at 2%. So if we had 29 billion people that caught this, about 600,000 people would die based on the numbers we have now. That would fluctuate based on the care and all of that stuff. But it's just interesting to watch the way that people just freak out. And like you try to tell them and you try to talk. And I put a poll up. I said, and take it at Chad Benson Show. That's your Twitter there. Are you worried about the coronavirus? 6% said yes. 31% said, I'm a bit worried. 63% said, I'm not worried at all. I think that's most people, right? I think most people are looking at this. Is this just like what is this, isn't there a coronavirus? Yeah. The reason they call it novel is because when it mutates or changes or becomes something that they're not aware of, it becomes a novel virus. So it's a novel virus right now. And that's why it's COVID-19. They're going to work on finding some sort of vaccine. But this is where also Trump comes out. We're close to getting a vaccine. We're nowhere near getting anywhere close to finding a vaccine that will eradicate this in months.
The president said yesterday, we're very close to a vaccine. Right. How close are we to a vaccine? Are we very close?
I mean, the confusion again is we're close to starting a phase 1 trial to determine safety. We're going to do that in about 1.5 to 2 months. But that doesn't mean you have a vaccine. In order to get a vaccine that's practically deployable for people to use, it's going to be at least a year to a year and a half at best.
Yeah. So it's a ways off. Will it become such a pandemic that it's going to destroy? It's destroying the stock market. It's destroying markets globally. Nothing Trump can do about it. And I thought yesterday he was going to come out and try to steady the marketplace in some way, shape, or form. I thought he didn't really do that. He talked about, well, when I'm reelected, the market's going to go like a rocket, like a rocket. We will withstand this, but it's going to be painful because the one thing that investors love is stability. The thing they hate the most is instability, the uncertainty of what takes place. Hong Kong, homeschooling every kid right now, 800,000 kids. Japan, they're closing their schools through April. There may not be an Olympics. That is becoming more of a reality. They spent $24 billion. They're expecting huge amounts, vast amounts of money to be flowing into that country, and that may all be for naught. That's a huge hit to an economy that we're all tied in now globally. Hong Kong is giving $1,200 to pretty much everybody who's over 18 in hopes that it spurs the economy a little bit, because not only have they had this, but their economy has stalled because of all of the protests. And so they're trying to jumpstart it, and they've been very smart with their money. So handing out that much money isn't going to hurt what they have, but they're trying to get things going, and this on top of all. So there's a lot of things that play into this. And so, yeah, the economy is going to struggle. The one place is Australia, where they've got the best stock market. If you go back from the 1900s to today, the strongest stock market as far as not only returns, but just being able to withstand things like that. And part of it's because they are so isolated. So it's interesting. But I do not believe it's going to be a pandemic where we're going back to like 1918 and we're going to be digging mass graves or bringing in incinerators, or I don't think that. But does it have a chance to become somewhat of an annoyance to the point of not only is it hospitals going to be full and it's going to be like having a gnarly flu for a lot of people, and there's going to be certain things to this? Yes. But do I think it's going to get to the point where it's going to be like the movie Outbreak? I don't think so. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson shows your Twitter. Good news is Mike Pence is the czar of this, so he's on it. Just looking at him yesterday, just the fear. He's my corona catcher. He's going to go out and catch a bunch of coronaviruses, and then he's going to take them up to Space Force and deliver them. Brrr. Car Shield, amazing. So check this out. You've got a car, I've got a car. People have cars. I don't buy new cars. I buy used cars. It's awesome. So guess what happens more often than not? There's no warranty with any of those. So I've got an older car. I've got a newer car. The newer car has all the whip-waps, the gadgets, the widgets, the nidgets. But you just sit there. Oh, my God, what's that? It's electronic. It's GPS, all that stuff. It's kind of neat. My older car, right, 10 years old, got some miles on it, works great. Guess what? It doesn't have any of that other stuff. But I've got a plan from CarShield that covers both. Called them up, said, hey, I've got this, I've got this. They need different things. You have a car. I don't know what your car needs. But I know eventually, like my cars, they're going to need something. And that's where CarShield comes in. 24/7 roadside assistance, a rental car for free while your car's in the shop. The shop is the shop that you choose. And in doing so, you pay a small deductible. They get them paid the rest. It is that simple. Plans starting as low as $99 a month, but you got to call them and say, hey, look, I've got this. It has this many miles on it. It's this. I'm worried about the transmission. I'm worried about the electronics. Whatever it is, they'll take care of it. Rates as low as $99 a month. You got nothing to lose. Get covered by CarShield today. 800-CAR-6000. Mention code Benson. It saves you 10%. That's 800-CAR-6000. Code Benson saves you 10%. Or go to carshield.com, carshield.com. Use that code to save 10% there as well. A deductible may apply. Chad Benson Show.
Don't let the Washington Beltway strangle you. This is where the exhausted majority comes to refuel, realign, and reevaluate. This is Chad Benson.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? Let's take a peek. Magical world of Twitter. What's going on over there? Trump virus. Trump's getting blamed for it. And it's funny because here's where the politics come. Trump's great economy should be able to stop this. No. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's President Barack Obama or Trump or Reagan or every president we've ever had standing there trying to slow this quote-unquote fear factor down. And you've got to understand something. Take away even us. Let's say we've got nobody here and there's no worry of it coming here. These fears that you're seeing in the marketplace are driven globally. Not a lot you can do there. Has to do with all kinds of things, from supply chains and how we get goods to being able to sell goods in certain areas that we're no longer having access to in the way that we need to sell them. But it's funny to watch the way that everybody goes, oh yeah, look at this. So that makes me laugh. It does. Stay away from people who is trending. People who what? People are bad. People are, it's funny. Everybody's got those friends you need to stay away from. Steven Seagal's trending because he did something stupid with cryptocurrency and promotion of it. So he can't promote cryptocurrency for 3 years. No idea. National Retro Day, also trending. Let's head over to the world of Google. Still talking about the debate. Absolutely. Mcauley Culkin, because he's joining the cast of American Horror Story. The Milwaukee shooting is still being searched. Again, yesterday is a perfect example of where there was no politics. There was no reason to pay the kind of attention you would get in another situation where you can make it a political situation. And that's a lot of times what happened. That's the anatomy of the story, right? Something that you can shape into emotion and politics, you can make it huge. And there wasn't really that. And polls also trending today. Right now, head of South Carolina, Biden's widening his lead. He now holds a 20-point lead over his closest rivals, according to a new Monmouth University poll. And as of Monday, several polls had it almost a dead heat with Bernie and him. But I think the Bernie effect he's starting to see is what? Especially in the South, talk of capitalism is evil, socialism is great. Castro taught people to read, Noriega, Soviet Union, things of that nature, starting to scare and make people nervous. And it went from looking like a dead heat in several polls now to this is the second poll in as many days that has Biden not only pulling away, but Bernie falling behind Tom Steyer and Elizabeth Warren. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. Super Tuesday is going to be big for a lot of reasons. California and Texas, we'll see how that plays itself out. He'll win California. Texas, that'll be interesting. How does that go? How does that break down across? 1,357 delegates up for grab. Are we going to have more of a mess on Wednesday, or is this starting to look like it's going to be a Bernie train that can't be stopped? Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Mayor Bill DeBlasio said we'll see President Trump back in court and we will win. The prediction followed a federal appeals court decision against the city and 7 states over grant money withheld by the Trump administration because of their so-called sanctuary policies. The states and the city do not give immigration and customs enforcement a heads up about undocumented immigrants in their jails. The mayor said withholding the law enforcement grants takes away security funding from the #1 terrorist target in America.
Yeah, and guess what happened? Why do I talk about the court system? Think about this. Trump has changed the lower courts, the federal courts, in such a way. They've got 50 judges on there, reshaping the court system. He's done in 3 years what Obama barely got to in 8. And Mitch McConnell talks about it all the time. That's his focus and has been. And last week you saw it with Sotomayor, who had a scathing rebuke because, unfortunately, it is political. And and everything nowadays, every single thing, no matter what you do, right? States can vote on something and it's going to get challenged if somebody doesn't like the way it's gone, doesn't care that the people have spoken. And everything now is being challenged through the courts. So those who control the courts, if you will have a much better day in court. And that is happening right now. More and 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 more. And she got mad, Sotomayor, because why? Because the courts lean now 5-4. And she says she was mad at Trump. Trump said, I want Sotomayor and Ruth Bader Ginsburg off, my trials. And it's just ridiculous, this. But the politics of the law is never been clearer in the way that these things are being fought now, because Trump wants to get to that Supreme Court because he knows I got a 5-4 edge. Originalist versus the more progressive, I have the 5-4 edge. So whether it's immigration or any of these things. And I can also say in Trump's defense, why is everything challenged? And it's not just Trump. This has been going on for years. Right? They judge shop. They find an appeals court that they think that they can win in, that happens to be to the left, usually the Ninth Circuit. What ends up happening, that gets overturned later on down the road. So this has been going on for years, hence the reason why the court system's so big. And why I say, if Trump happens to win another 4 years, that's a legacy builder that is massive. That is massive. It's not politics that shapes lives. It's the laws and how the Supreme Court view those things that will have a bigger impact than the average everyday legislator, no matter who they are. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. It's a great article in the Cato Institute about socialism. And it's funny. You've seen Bernie this week doing the things that he's doing, talking about, guess what? Socialisms, blah, blah, blah.
You have a track record of expressing sympathy for socialist governments in Cuba and in Nicaragua. Can Americans trust that a democratic socialist president will not give authoritarians a free pass?
I have opposed authoritarianism all over the world. Of course, you have a dictatorship in Cuba. What I said is what Barack Obama said, that Cuba made progress on education. Yes, I think. Really? Really?
Really? Really? So when you hear everybody who's in the socialist world, by the way, there's never been a socialist country that has gone on and done amazing things, right? You can look at the communist regime of what's going on in China as somewhat of a successful model, but it's an authoritarian regime that has millions of people, the Uyghurs, inside of, what are they? Re-education camps, we'll call them, right? But they've allowed free market rules to come in and prop up their authoritarianism. So that's not one, right? Venezuela is the most recent example of what a socialist country would look like. Bernie touts what? Much like everybody else. We're going to tout what? They tout the same thing over and over and over and over again. When it comes, it's always about what? The Scandinavian, the Nordic model. Everything's about the Nordic model.
There's a huge generational divide. Older people tend to think of democratic socialism through the lens of the Cold War, right? Like they think of communism and they think of all of these things. Younger people, I think, our views on democratic socialism have been really shaped in our political upbringing. The last 10 years, our entire adult political lives have been shaped by the discourse of this obsession with money and profit and capital at all human and environmental costs.
So that's how it's done. That's what they're shaping it. That's the shape of it all. Environmental costs, because we understand what true socialism is. Look, true socialism, the kind, because Bernie, again, when you hear him talk about socialism, he always refers slowly back to the Nordic model, but he'll talk about all the other things that goes with, the Castros. And again, Soviet Union. These are the things that when he thinks about, which is what? Central government control. Doesn't work. Sweden went from poor to wealthy. One of the richest countries in the world. Massive. Huge. Then, 60s, 70s, and 80s, what happens? Socialists took over. Went from a free, they used some of the free market, but then they accelerated all of the stuff. Then they started taking more and more over. And then you saw the fleeing of IKEA, their sports stars, any of their big industries going to other parts of Europe to get away from what they called the monster that was the government of Sweden. Then, early 90s, it was done. I mean, they were struggling on fumes. They have a very generous benefit and social safety for their people. But when you hear Bernie talk about, well, we want to be like the Nordic model. So what you want is school choice, no minimum wage, no gift or death tax. You're fine with even lowering the corporate tax from where it is now, because their corporate tax is less. There's a lot of things. What he wants to do is, when he talks about this and you start talking to him, well, what about unions? Unions are fine. One of the big things when they first started just using all of their natural resources and they grew in the mid part of the 1900s and they continued to, what they did was they had unions. But some of those unions fade out. Newer technology, they want to let people go, and that was fine. They had generous things that went with it, but it was all free market. It was free trade. It was open. It was flowing. Then they came in and they jacked the pooch, and now they've got a semi-happy medium kind of thing, but it still's all based on free market principles. They tried the wealth tax. It sucked. It didn't work. Everybody who had money bounced. Right? And when you do that, you have what? A brain drain, which also means you have a money drain. So but they're all talking about the things that didn't work. They're talking about, hey, we need to up the death tax. Well, they don't have one there. There's no minimum wage. I mean, there's all of these things that they talk about. And it's funny because they pick the things that didn't work. Because it's in everybody's mind that they just didn't do it correctly. No, they just didn't do it correctly. If we did, when they had a smaller government, they had what? They had more money, more power, one of the top 10 richest countries in the world. When they expanded their government and their welfare state, they fell to hell in a handbasket. And it was when they reopened up everything again, became more free market, allowed the free market to thrive, that they realized, okay, things are okay. We can rob Peter to pay for Paul. But if you want to just this massive tax burden, crush the people, what you're going to create is a nightmare scenario. So we'll see what takes place. But that's what people aren't explaining. People don't get out there and talk about that. I'd look right at Bernie. So you're fine with having no death tax? Well, no, we need to tax that. Why? Sweden doesn't have that. You always talk about the Nordic model. The Danes don't have that. Right? Are you going to have a value-added tax? Because I've been on your website, Bernie, and you know what I saw? I saw a lot of money that you're taking, but it doesn't cover barely any of the stuff that you're proposing. Nobody fights the way that they should against Bernie. Nobody does. And capitalism, it's funny, they talk about the people on the left, and I'm not talking about the average Democrat. Come on, you guys, the average Democrat's great. They love America. Most of them are Second Amendment believers. They're going about it. They see things a little bit differently, but we all want to get to the same place. I'm talking about the uber progressives who say the Republicans demonize socialism. But you know what's funny? The uber left demonizes what? Capitalism.
When you actually examine our history and when you actually look at the present day, some of the most popular policies and things that we have are not capitalist. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, libraries, public schools, firefighters, infrastructure. None of these things were built because they come at a profit. We've decided that some things are sacred, that we don't make money off of the backs of babies trying to educate them to read. There are some things, exactly. There are some things that should be economic or social rights.
Economic and social rights. Cities pay for those things. We pay for them for taxes. But now you're talking about taking those taxes and upping them to a point of ridiculousness, right? Without the cost of living changing in any way, shape, or form. Meaning it's still going to cost you X amount of dollars. Your rent's not going to go down. Your paycheck's smaller. Things are more expensive. And your rent. And some of those programs are very popular. Absolutely. I'm not saying get rid of those programs. I'm saying improve on those programs. What I'm not saying is I love all of that stuff. We can learn from Sweden. We can learn from Denmark. Why not take the best of what people have? The problem is when I see the likes of Bernie and AOC, what I see them is ignoring the mistakes that Sweden and Denmark and a lot of other countries have already made and running at those mistakes and ignoring the things that they're doing right. Yet, when I watch everybody take them on, it's a joke, right? It is. And Bernie's got that emotion. And I don't think Bernie's a horrible guy, and I do not believe for 1 second that we are ever going to become anything like Venezuela. I do not believe that for 1 second. But it is interesting to watch the way that this plays out. And the way that when I see people try to get at Bernie, he overpowers them, he overruns them, and also the people that follow him, much like a lot of people on the right, it's feelings over facts. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the program as well. Lightstream. See that? See what I did there? Lightstream. Amazing. Awesome. I had a friend who signed up the other day, said it was so easy. So right now, what are you paying in your credit card interest rates? You probably don't know. 17, 18, 19, 20, 20 plus percent. The reality, the average interest rate's probably 20, 21% right now. That's the national average. How about a credit card consolidation loan? It's easy to do. It's easy. Credit card consolidation loan from Lightstream. Rates as low as 5.95% APR with auto pay. It's so much lower than the national average. You can get a loan from $5,000 to $100,000 with absolutely no fees. You can even get your money as early as the same day you apply. Many people get it within 24 or 48 hours. You can do it right there from your smartphone. I've heard from so many listeners said it was so easy to do. And just for my listeners now, special interest rate discount. You're going to save even more. The only way to get this discount is to go to lightstream.com/Benson. That's LIGHTSTREAM.com/Benson. Subject to credit approval. Rate includes 0.50% auto pay discount. Terms and conditions apply. Offer subject to change without notice. Visit lightstream.com/Benson for more information. Chad Benson Show.
fake outrage here, just the real thing. The Chad Benson Show.
But do you know all the hidden fees? Congresswoman Diana DeGette says you don't. She wants to change that.
Consumers attempting to buy tickets online continue to be confronted by high hidden fees.
The major online ticket agency CEOs on Capitol Hill saying none of them will change the fees or resale rules until Congress passes new laws. Andy Field, ABC News, Washington.
How many of you get frustrated? I know I do. So you go through, you put your, you put all your information in, and then it's like, ticket price is this. And then with fees, they do it with everything. It was the same thing with the flower industry, right? Like, hey, it's X, and then you've like, whoa, that's not even close. Z, this is what this thing costs. You said it was $35 and it was $52, or sometimes it even costs more. That frustrates. Congress, here's something you bipartisan. People want to know what they're paying. They want transparency. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's the medical industry. I don't care if it's the world of law enforcement or, yes, politics or tickets. Transparency. Go look at your cell phone bill and look at all of those fees. And you're like, wow, that is a lot of fees. Just want the fees. And when it comes to concerts or sporting events, like, StubHub and all these other ones, you go and next thing you know, you're paying $50 you think for a ticket, right? And it ends up being $145. And you're like, what the hell? It's like I'm getting an extra ticket without an extra ticket. Same thing with hotel fees. Oh, because I stay in so many hotels. I've got it down now where I know, okay, this city isn't charging this fee. These people don't charge that fee. I hate it when I go to a hotel and they don't tell you, oh, did you bring a car? No, I walked here. So, yeah, I know. Well, Chad, maybe a Uber or somebody like that dropped you. I get it. But why didn't you tell me there was a parking fee before? And now I'm screwed because you're going to charge me $25 if I want to park in your parking lot of a hotel I'm staying at. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the program as well. Go to thechadshow.com. Find out and grab the podcast, all of that cool stuff. And check out the Facebook page as well. We do a few Facebook Lives throughout the day talking about all kinds of stuff. Some stuff that we missed that we can't get to because of what? Because we're covering so much stuff. And I promise you will not get the coronavirus by going to thechadshow.com. I'm just letting you know that. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
It's here and we can't stop the coronavirus. What will we do?
I think they should look at this as if you were getting a weather warning, a storm coming. What would you do? You might go to the grocery store, get some supplies. So if you needed to stay home for a while, that would be fine. I think it's important to contact schools, ask what their plan is. If you have medications that you need to take, make sure that you're not going to be running out in the next couple of days in case social distancing measures are put into place. And if you have any major medical conditions, you want to obviously be in touch with your doctor, your medical provider.
Dr. Ashton there. Thank you so very much. So call the schools. What's the worry? What's the worry? What's the worry? What is it? What's the worry? Get stuff ready, right? Go out. Can't buy unless you got a lot of money, apparently. Profiteering going on the old eBay. I was looking at this. 3M, 8511, particulate N95 respirator, mask filter, value carton, 10 fire smoke dust. Don't know what that means? A lot of stuff. It's a mask. Cost? $11,000. 10 cases, 3M, 8210, N95, particulate respirator face mask, 80 boxes, 1,600 masks. Your cost, $9,999. Respirators going up. What? Yeah. My goodness me. It's on eBay. Government, according to Alex Azar, needs to stockpile 300 million N95 respirators used by both health service workers as well as many other construction people and things of that nature. What will we do? Profiteering. It's surge pricing. It's not profiteering. It's surge pricing. I have a need that I can, and I must pay for that need. You have a product or service, but that product or service is currently really popular. So you were taking advantage of it. That's not very fair. Life's not fair, kids. I don't think you need to panic, though. The marketplace, worst week since 2008. Worst week in the markets since 2008. So think about that. I don't know. I do not know where this ends for the marketplace and what happens for us. You've got Middle Eastern nations closing borders. Japan shuts down all schools through the end of March, right? Hong Kong's already got 800,000 kids that are currently doing what? Homeschooled as it spreads. So it's very interesting to see the way that this plays itself out, because you've got the political side of it, which is the battle between Trump and the Democrats and what should you do because of defunding and all of this kind of stuff. But you've also got the reality of you're running for re-election. The marketplace is crashing. There's not a lot you can do because of uncertainty in the marketplace. And people are going to look at you and say, why are you not calming the markets down? So there's a lot. There's a lot going on here. But do I think that this is going to get to the point where we're going to see hundreds of thousands hospitalized and dead? I don't believe so. But could it get to the point where we see tens of thousands? That's a possibility.
We look at primary, secondary, tertiary spread. One of the criteria, and again, it's just language for the World Health Organization to designate this as a pandemic, is they need to see not just outbreaks in many different countries, but evidence of sustained spread throughout the community. When you hear about someone who doesn't have a direct tie to China, although now it's all over the world, that starts to get concerning.
And that's Northern California. You've got the first, what they call community patient, if you will, that has been affected. Somebody who has no ties to China, hasn't traveled there, doesn't have any relations with anybody who's traveled there, or any other country that currently has people that are infected, yet that person has now come down and tested positive for the coronavirus or COVID-19. Because remember, the coronavirus comes in all shapes and sizes. There's SARS, there's MERS, there's just the common cold coronavirus. So there's all shapes and sizes there. So now you've got the first. So what will happen? Again, I think it's going. I think we'll see somewhat of a spread here, but I don't think it's going to become a pandemic or an epidemic here to the point where we're going to see like 1918. And no, I don't think that. That's, for those who don't know, it's the fluenza across. Just throwing it out there. Just want to make sure everybody's knowing what that is. Read a book. But it's going to be very interesting to see the way that this thing plays itself out, not only in the human side of it, but also the economic side and the political side of all of this, because there is a politics of it all. There's no politics in the flu, right? There is politics in this because of the budget, because of what Trump, cut and who's getting blamed for what. And then, of course, he goes and he does something horrible, which was he started to close the borders to certain, as far as like people coming here from China and shutting that down. And then it became a xenophobia thing. And now you're seeing other countries do the exact same thing. And then Trump didn't act fast enough. And he's just like, So we'll see. We'll see. But everybody takes a deep breath. That's what matters. Take a deep breath. We'll go from there. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Shows your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You've got Super Tuesday coming up. Saturday, you have South Carolina. That looks like it's going to be what a lot of people thought it was. It looked like 90 days ago Biden was going to win that thing going away. He struggled in Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada. Struggled on the debate stage. Pulled it together the other night. Picked up some momentum. Bernie momentum slowed down somewhat, and it looks like he has picked up that big lead again, which was one time 15 to 20 points, and then it was neck and neck as early as this week with him and Bernie potentially, with Tom Steyer out of nowhere picking. We still trying to figure out how that was happening, and now things are returning back to some normalcy in South Carolina as far as Biden is concerned, and he's up by anywhere between 10 and 20 points, depending on which poll, Monmouth or Clemson. So that's happening. But the real eyes are on the prize, which is Tuesday.
A look at the candidates' daily agendas finds only Tom Steyer, Pete Buttigieg, and Joe Biden still kissing babies here in South Carolina. The rest have leapfrogged on to the 14 states that head to the polls next Tuesday. Bernie Sanders is in North Carolina, Tulsi Gabbard is in Virginia, and former New York City Mayor Mike Bloomberg plans to triple his effort with campaign stops in Houston, Oklahoma City, and Bentonville, Arkansas. 3 stops in 3 Super Tuesday states in just 9 hours.
Yeah, so that's his play. Super Tuesday is his play, and you cannot open up the internet, turn on a television, listen to the radio, without hearing, seeing, or reading something about Mike Bloomberg and his campaign. It is everywhere. It is everywhere. And it is growing. But his 2 lackluster debates, one where he got he got boat raced, and the other one where he just was, okay, this is who you are. There's no energy. You're just very matter of fact. Does that win? I don't know. But Tuesday will be the biggest day in this primary season. Because we could wake up Wednesday and have a good idea. There may be still some issues. You never know. We always like to think that we're going to get everything done and dusted by, close of business that night. But there may be some issues. But California is going to be for Bernie. We'll see what happens in Texas. You've got a few other states there that you're not quite sure. And this does the momentum from this weekend. If Biden comes out and he wins by 15 points in a much more diverse state, does that show that he does have a path to victory and that maybe he picks up some momentum on Tuesday in what looked like could have been his last gasp effort? He picks up some steam, and instead of Bernie picking up 1,000 or 1,100 delegates, maybe he only picks up 600. It's a possibility. So we'll see. It'll be interesting, and how the super delegates play out, because there already noise that they're signaling. Brokered convention, bye-bye, Bernie. Brokered convention, no thanks. We'll pass on you. So, and that's been Michael Bloomberg's plan, and that's what the last gasp effort from the average run-of-the-mill Democrat is thinking may have to happen if they're going to stop the Bernie train. A brokered convention where he doesn't get enough delegates, and they figure a way to usurp him. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. My Pillow has towels. I used my towels today. What? I did. Stayed in a hotel. I packed a couple towels with me. Take them in there because I don't like the hotel towels. And love these. Extra soft, super absorbent. Took my gray ones with me. They got 5 different designer color choices. When you get a set, you get extra soft 30 by 56 bath towels, 16 by 30 hand towels, and washcloths as well. And I loved it. Took a shower last night, right? Because I get up so early. Just, and then I worked out a little bit today, took a quick shower. So that's why I take 2. And I'm telling you, it is so absorbent. I only need 1 towel, and away I go. No water, super clean, and extra dry. Made in the USA, 100% USA cotton. That matters because My Towel uses USA cotton. They don't use cheap fillers or softeners. 60-day money-back guarantee. Limited time introductory offer. What's that mean? You go to MyPillow.com, click on the new radio listener special, and you're going to save 30% off these amazing towels. All you have to do is enter promo code Benson. MyPillow.com, new radio listener special, enter promo code Benson, save 30% and a 60-day money-back guarantee, or call 800-983-4975. Use that promo code Benson to enjoy the savings. Chad Benson Show.
You go, boy.
This isn't about right or left. This is just about right and wrong.
Right you are, Chad. The Chad Benson Show.
Today might be a day that's often referred to as a washout. And what happens there is, you have a few down days in a row, and then you have a day that forces those who have sort of been holding on to finally reach their breaking point and sell.
Yeah. And Goldman Sachs is coming out saying because of the coronavirus, we may be headed towards a recession, having nothing to do with anything other than a global potential pandemic that is causing normal economies to slow down, freeze, or retract because of no movement. People aren't doing anything. They're not going out. They're not spending money. They're living in fear of the potential of what may happen. Hong Kong, 800,000 kids currently being homeschooled. They have struggled already this year and late last year with the battle going on between them and China when it comes to the laws there, and all of the rallies and the demonstrations that lasted, which upended. Hong Kong's a big market. China now struggling big time. They've revised themselves down to about 4.5% as far as their growth goes. They need 8-10%. So they're starting to slow down, and the supply chains that we need that come from there because we manufacture so much stuff there, the potential of that thing slowing down is huge. On top of that, second largest economy in the globe, and the access to that marketplace to sell our goods also slowing down. So, is it going to happen? I think it's a possibility. Now, before we talk ourselves into something, and this is one of those things where we're talking, the globe is now going on, right, doctor.com or whatever that medical thing is, like med.com or whatever, and we're looking at symptoms and we're diagnosing ourselves with something before it's actually happened. You know what I mean? Do you have hair? Yeah. Does your back hurt? Oh, absolutely. Right? You ever slept on your arm wrong and gets tingle? Oh, yeah. Yeah. You probably have, stroke, a heart attack, cancer, is pneumonia. You're like, what? Have you ever done that? You ever gone on to those things? You start looking, you're like, oh my God, I've had a headache. Oh yeah, I've had that. Oh, for sure. I've had a twinge in my knee before. And you start putting it all together. And that's kind of what I feel like we're doing. We're talking ourselves into something that hasn't already happened, because that's part of the viral. We let our imagination just run with it. So could we be heading there? Yeah, I think it's more than likely that we're going to see a definite slowdown in the economy. And I've said that Trump's best friend and worst enemy could be the economy, and the red hot economy was his best friend. A slowing down of the economy. This may be the one way that he avoids a slowdown or even a partial recession and has a chance of getting reelected, because it has zero to do with Trump. This is all to do with nature and a virus, and it's affecting everybody. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You know what? I'm so over this. All of this stuff, the coronavirus, global warming, the bitterness, the trolling of each other, the hate. I'm taking off. I'm going to space.
Sir Richard Branson's company, Virgin Galactic, taking applications for spots on its Spaceship Two plane. Flights will cost you, though. The $250,000 seats on the initial flight are for the astronauts, but applicants will have a chance to make a future trip by reserving a seat for $1,000. So far, hundreds of tickets have been sold for the debut flight slated for later this year. This comes as the company reported a $73 million quarterly loss.
Yeah. $1,000. Here's something. Do I need a passport? Do I need one of those new real IDs? Because I'm going to space, but is there a country that I'm going to in space that I don't know about? I know we're only flying up there. Where are we taking off from? I just would like to know all the facts. Will there be a movie? Is there snacks provided? Do I get a suit? How is this regulated as far as when we get to space? Is there going to be some sort of check-in? Fair questions to ask. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. It is the anatomy of a story. When we watch things like the coronavirus and all of these things happen out there, it can get into our psyche that things are far worse than they are. And if there's emotion involved and a chance to paint a picture, they can get eyeballs. The media loves to play that. We'll talk about that straight ahead. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
What he's doing is late, too late, anemic. Hopefully we can make up for the loss of time.
Panic! Panic! Political story. It's what it's become, the coronavirus. There's an anatomy in the way that stories are put together, right? That's truth means very little anymore. Now half of it is there's a political slant to everything, right? And the other half is preying on emotions of people, right? That's so much of what putting things together. That's one of the reasons why somebody likes. You can look at Bernie and say, oh, why? Well, Bernie doesn't have, I don't have the, poor Joe doesn't have the power. He doesn't have the strength. He doesn't have the excitement. But does he have the plans, right, to beat you, Bernie? You look over and you see somebody like Buttigieg. Doesn't evoke emotion. That's a problem because emotion, fear, anger, love, all of those things, greed, they gets people to do things, makes people react, makes us overthink. We live in a world of what? The bubble of safety. We're safer than we've ever been. We're living longer than we ever have. No, Chad, our life expectancy is down. It's down because of things like self-induced deaths. The average person who doesn't shoot themselves or OD on heroin is living longer, which is the majority of us. But you would think, right? And that's what you do. You cause a panic. You cause a stir. And it's interesting. Yesterday, what did we have yesterday in the middle of the day? We had a shooting at a plant in Milwaukee. And what happened? How many of you really heard any of it? Because I saw very little coverage of it, where normally the media would flock to it. They would be there all day. It would be nonstop coverage in the whole 9 yards, except for
Employee opened fire at the Old Miller Brewing headquarters, now the Molson Coors Company, killing 5 co-workers before turning the gun on himself. Investigators say the former employee returned to the office armed, opening fire on staff members. Employees were evacuated along with neighboring schools as police searched more than 20 buildings on the company's campus. More than 1,000 people were working at the sprawling beer plant Wednesday afternoon when the shooting occurred.
What's the first thing we do now? White supremacist? Is it a Nazi? What's his political leanings? Was it kids? Was it a Muslim? Was it a terrorist? Oh, it's just a disgruntled employee. Nothing to see here. We're moving on. Nothing to see. Zero things to see. Right? Killed people, the whole. But if this was guy that was a Trump supporter, be nonstop. Right? If this was a terrorist, pretty much nonstop. It's the anatomy of putting a story together. And that yesterday was so real. There was no political thing in it. Pissed off, angry, disgruntled employee does a heinous thing after being fired earlier in the day. It's like the flu. There's no politics in the flu. So because there's no politics in the flu, it's hard to blame, so it doesn't get the coverage. Because why? Because we live for emotions, right? If we can get somebody to have some sort of emotion, right? We can evoke an emotion in somebody. We can get, there's a reason that politicians tell stories about individuals. Here's something for you, Bernie, right? See that you love the Soviet Union and all of the little offsprings and offshoots and franchises that they've produced. Joseph Stalin said the death of one is a tragedy. The death of a million is a statistic. Right? Meaning if you could tell a story about a singular thing, it becomes real to people. And we do what? We panic, we worry, we freak. Oh, God, this, that, and that's what goes on. This right here is a perfect example of how we've gotten to the point of fear in everything. I am a Gen Xer, latchkey kid, lived my life having fun outdoors with my friends, no helicopter parenting whatsoever. In this day and age, you couldn't even imagine doing that.
She left her 9-year-old daughter at a park for hours at a time.
Is that a crime today? Leaving your 9-year-old to play in a park? South Carolina police said, of course it is. They arrested the mom, and their questioning quickly turned into a lecture.
You can't leave a child that's 9 years old in a park by herself. What would you do if some sex offender came by?
Seems everyone agreed. She must have done something terrible.
What if a man would have came and just snatched it?
This day and time, you never know who's around. It's just not safe.
This day and time? Are you kidding me? We talked the other day about Parkland. Right? Since Columbine, school shootings are way down. But you wouldn't think that. You would think there's what? An epidemic, right? Crime, all these stuff. In this day and time, though, because people have it in their mind that this is dangerous because we have that bubble. We have that bubble of protection that we've never been in a better time in our life. So anything that breaches that bubble, even a smidge, it makes it feel like it's coming down on us.
Crime is way down, half what it was in the 90s. Reports of missing children are also down. If kids are kidnapped or molested, it's usually by a relative or friend.
She'd be safer in the park than she would at home.
Deborah Harrell worked here at McDonald's. Because she couldn't afford daycare, sometimes she'd bring her daughter to work. But Regina was bored at McDonald's.
She called me and asked me, Mom, can I go to the park? She had a cell phone. She had a pocketbook with money in it. She had everything she needed.
That's not legal, said the police.
Which is insane. God, at 9. I lived about a block and a half from school. In kindergarten, I'd walk to school by myself. I would come home by myself at noon or 1. And what would happen? My mom didn't get home till 3 or 4. Sometimes my grandma and my aunt lived about a mile and a half, 2 miles away. And sometimes, like first, second grade, I'd ride my bike over there. But you couldn't even imagine that now. You couldn't even imagine that. But that's part of the whole thought process, like with the coronavirus, like with a lot of these things. It's dude, you can't let that go outside, right? That's why when something happens, whether it's a police shooting or somebody does get taken by a stranger, you're like, oh, my God, because it happens so infrequently. Same thing with like a shark attack or a plane crash. They're so infrequent that they become big stories. But it's nuts. And this is the way that things work. I mean, you hear those people like, you can't let in this day and age people go outside by themselves. You put your kid outside all day long and says, take me, I'm free, and chances are nobody's going to come over. I was talking to Jack's mom a couple days ago. And she and I were chatting about, because he's on the video games all day. And I said that, well, that's where the kids meet now, right? He's playing Fortnite, he's playing Madden with all of his friends, and they're all talking and they're having a good time and they're playing and stuff. And I'm like, well, yeah, because where else are they going to do it? They can't go to the park by themselves. Everybody's kid has to have a play date. You have to play out back. And she goes, well, I said, look, it's so overblown, right? So overblown. But this is the world that we live in, and that's part of the whole thing, evoking emotion.
Attorney Robert Phillips took Deborah's case for free.
We found 42 incidents of sexual molestations, rapes in daycares. We couldn't find any in the last 20 years of a single abduction in a park.
One of those mothers apparently was upset enough that she called the cops.
Well, the mother probably watches too much TV herself.
Another kidnapping.
Or another kidnapping attempt of a teenage girl.
Have you had the stranger danger talk with your kids?
Think about that. 42 in places that you're paying your child to go and be safe. Let's talk about the Boy Scouts. Let's talk about the Catholic Church. Let's talk about a lot of different places where there's an established relationship. And usually it's a really strong established relationship, or it's an uncle, it's somebody, it's a dad. Those are the things that happen. The stranger danger? Are you kidding me? That's insane. The reality is this is part of it, though. You tell the story, you talk about the fear, you do all of these kind of things. We've talked about free roam parenting. We've talked about the fact that you let your kid. I mean, it's just absolute, but it's part of the fear factor. And that's part of the anatomy of a story that the media wants to build because it becomes something. Right? Oh, clutch your kid a little tighter. Things happen. Bad things happen. But we make it to be like that everything that's bad. If it bleeds, it leads. Because if we can get an emotion out of you, we can get you here watching it.
If you're not under the protective wings of mom and dad 24/7, then you're exposing your child to some unknown danger.
I felt safe because I was with my friends and their parents, and there was a lot of us.
She's a very responsible young lady.
You responsible?
Yes, sir.
She always been like that.
No, said prosecutors. No 9-year-old is responsible enough. They charged Deborah with willful abandonment of a child, a crime that carries up to a 10-year sentence. They took Regina away from her mother for 2 weeks.
Took her away from her because she let her go play at the park. That's insane.
Police and child care workers say they're protecting children by seizing them if they walk home alone. One child care worker strip searched a mom after she left her kids in the car while she dashed in for muffins.
And if you take their freedom away from them, then where they going to come at once they grow up?
They won't know how to take care of themselves.
When you hold your child in and not let them spread their wings, that's when they get in trouble.
She's right. It's crazy, but it's true. But see how the anatomy of a story is built. If there's politics there, if there's an emotion there, it becomes a much bigger thing because it's as much about storytelling and how I can get an emotion out of you. That's why Bernie does so well. He evokes a certain amount of emotion from both sides. AOC, from both sides. Because you got the politics, you've got the emotion, and rarely do you have any of the facts. Rarely. And at this point in time, in day and age, we try to say it here all the time, and I continue to say it, and I will live by it. I'll take facts over feelings every single day. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Got up this morning. Hit it hard. Got up early. I was up about 3:30. Did about a 45, 50-minute workout with I was in my hotel. I've got my armbands. I got all the stuff, and I hit it hard. And it was just so easy and smooth. And I started about 4 o'clock. And what I do is I take my Beat Elite. So I asked Beat Elite. So Human came to me, and they said, hey, Chad, would you try this? And I said, yeah. And I said, I'll try it. So they sent it to me. And I was kind of skeptical at first because I work out a lot. I do stuff. I want to make sure, was the stuff good? It was amazing. I could feel the impact on my workouts, me playing soccer. It was awesome. Beat Elite extends endurance, improves energy and stamina, increases oxygen delivery throughout the body. It is absolutely incredible. So we started talking. They talk about all the athletes, elite teams, everybody around the globe who uses this. And I was like, wow, that stuff is amazing. And it is. Now, if you want to take your game to the next level, do what I did. Get Beat Elite. Try it for yourself. Go to livehuman.com/Chad. You're going to save 20% off your first purchase. That's livehuman.com/Chad. You will feel the difference. Take it 30 minutes before your workout and see how you feel. You watch something that would be normally a 30-minute workout, 30 minutes in where you'd be exhausted, you're still pushing through and you're feeling great. Livehuman.com/Chad. Livehuman.com/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
Experiencing separation anxiety? That's dumb. Check out Chad 24/7 at his website, ChadBensonShow.com, and on iTunes, free. The Chad Benson Show. Never feel lonely again.
Target, the retailer, initially abolished the gender divide in the toy section after facing pressure from shoppers. Target said in a statement, preferences and needs change, and as guests have pointed out, in some departments, suggesting products by gender is unnecessary. As a writer for Time puts it, gender identity has nothing to do with signage in a store. The products will still be there, and parents will still buy whichever they like for their children.
Yeah, like who complained? It was like 3 people, but in the day and age of the flea wagging the tail wagging the dog, that's all you need, so we make sure that we change everything. So now we're just going to put it all in an area and you sift through it? Is that the way it is? California. A great article the other day in Reason Magazine about a proposed legislation in California. Get ready for this, guys. You know, we talk about socialism and all this stuff. Here's something, Bernie, that you guys probably want to talk about. There's no occupational licensing in places like Sweden and Denmark. Right? There's no occupational licensing. So we have to have licenses for everything, right? Totally awesome. Licensing for everything. They're looking at licensing in California for strippers, adult actresses and actors, cam workers, if you will. You have to get licensed? What? You name it. They want to give it the opportunity for the government to control it. And in doing so, doesn't matter. Get a license. Don't have to have a license to have a kid. But apparently, if you want to sit at home and you're a 20-something beautiful young woman or man and you want to make money off your cam, doing cam work, or you're a stripper and you've been blessed with a great body, you may have to have a license. 323-53-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Take the poll at Chad Benson Show. Coronavirus, are you worried? 7% of you, yes. Right now, 31% of you say, I'm a bit worried. About 62% of you say, I'm not worried at all. Which one are you? Take the poll at Chad Benson Show. You can tweet at us, text us as well, 323-538-2423. Beat Elite. Woke up this morning. What did I do? Worked out bright and early. Got about 3:30-ish. Took my Beat Elite. About 20, 30 minutes later, started working out and just crushed my workout. Had a great time. It's awesome. I don't care if you're working out or you're playing a sport. For me, it's soccer. Take this about a half an hour before, and it is amazing. Humans Beat Elite can help extend endurance, which it does, improves energy and stamina, absolutely, and increases oxygen delivery throughout the body. So whether I'm playing soccer or I'm doing just a workout, I feel the difference. It is absolutely incredible. And it's been shown that to increase endurance in athletes across the globe, especially like bike riders, long distance runners. You've got to check this out. Try it for yourself. Try it for yourself. Do what I did. Take your workout and game to the next level. Get yourself some Beat Elite. Go to livehuman.com/Chad. You're going to save 20% right there. livehuman.com/Chad. Feel the difference. Put it to the test. You will notice the difference. Livehuman.com/Chad. At Chad Benson Show, Twitter, ChadBensoa. Another struggle for the stock market today. Up, down, the nerves are there. Worst week we've had since 2008. And I don't know if it's going to get better anytime soon. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be a wild ride as this coronavirus thing plays itself out. But you know what? We'll be here the entire time. Have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, will you? Oh, there it is. I see Friday. Night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.